With such an intertwined relationship with spicy, you would think the Sichuanese must have been cultivating and eating chili peppers for thousands of years. But curiously, that's not the case. In fact, the modern chili pepper most commonly used in Sichuan cuisine to bring the sense of spiciness to the palate was not introduced to China until the late 16th century and was not commonly used for consumption until centuries later.
Spicy or not, that is the way to tell apart who the locals are.
This quote indicates how firmly the Sichuan natives believe in the connection between their spicy predilection and their Sichuanese identity. And this Sichuanese signifier is shared by Chinese groups outside of Sichuan as well, through a centuries-old saying.
Sichuan people are not afraid of spicy food.
So how'd the chili end up in China, and why'd the Sichuanese go apeshit over it? Well, let's talk about it, brah. To start, let's work on defining what a chili pepper is, because its etymology is a convoluted one. This red thing, a cayenne pepper, was inaccurately named a pepper by Christopher Columbus and his crew upon their arrival to the Americas, due to the plant's resemblance to the pepper plant. It's actually more closely related to citrus plants.
I thought that was a curry!
Prior to the Europeans' arrival, Native Americans in Central and South America had been cultivating and consuming chili peppers as a flavor enhancer and for medicinal purposes for at least 6,000 years. And in the Aztec language, the name for the plant was chili. So these early European explorers combined the indigenous name with the misclassification of what they believed was a variation of pepper, which gave birth to our current misnomer, chili pepper. Like many other crops like tomatoes, corn, and potatoes to just name a few, the Spanish and Portuguese would bring chili peppers from the Americas back to the Old World and forever transform the cuisines and diets of countless cultures around the world in an immeasurable way. Dutch, Portuguese, and Spanish traders would bring chili peppers to their colonies throughout South and Southeast Asia, most notably to modern-day Cambodia, Malaysia, Indonesia, and the Philippines. By the 1570s, Chinese traders and explorers in Southeast Asia and India would eventually get their hands on the plant and bring them back to China, who prized them not for their flavor, but for their beauty. Surprisingly, the Chinese gentry initially felt the chili pepper was not fit for consumption, believing overly powerful flavors, including spiciness, were harmful to one's digestive tract. They described it as a barbarian pepper, with the word barbarian holding a negative connotation in association with Europeans, who the Chinese at the time believed were their inferiors. However, they believed the peppers possessed health benefits as a topical medicine that could be applied to the skin, which would help extract moisture from the body. This was an especially common treatment in southern China, where traditional Chinese medicine believed overly humid climates could cause ailments.
Pepper bushes with white flowers and fruits resembling bald pencil heads, with a spicy taste and red color. Very impressive.
It's up for debate which region of China chilies entered. Some believe it was Canton, while others believe it was through Zhejiang, but it likely entered through different ports independently. However, it was through Zhejiang that the chili was able to utilize Ming China's extensive canal networks and spread rapidly inland via the Yangtze River to areas like Jiangxi, Hunan, Guizhou, Yunnan, and eventually Sichuan, where finding these exotic spices was becoming commonplace at local markets. Guizhou province, being one of the poorest regions in China, was the first to truly incorporate chilies into their diet, as its local indigenous non-Chinese populations often couldn't afford salt for seasoning. To this day, Guizhou province remains one of the main production areas for chilies in China, which is saying a lot, since China is by far the world's leader in chili production. It's worth noting that at this point, chilies were not only influencing Chinese cuisine, but the cuisines of countless groups throughout the Eastern Hemisphere. The Near East, South Asia, Africa, and the rest of East Asia were developing their own fondness for chilies to varying degrees. Ironically, Europeans, the very people that brought the chilies across the world, didn't develop a particularly heavy chili consuming culture, save for a few exceptions like the Hungarians. This can likely be attributed to Europe's climate. The preservation of foods with chilies was not as necessary since food spoils more slowly at lower temps. Spice can often make individuals sweat.
Oh, it's hot.
Which lowers internal body temperature, which was a no-no in cold climates prior to modern insulation technology. And the fact that chilies just tend to grow more poorly in colder climates. By the 18th and 19th centuries, the chili had grown a niche cult following in China, but was a distinctly peasant class commodity. The elite class throughout all of China long resisted the popularity of chili peppers, believing that they were a coarse and unhealthy food. However, the poorer classes of the southwestern provinces of Hunan, Guizhou, Yunnan, and most notably Sichuan had fallen madly in love with chilies as a seasoning. But why did the Sichuanese so readily accept this foreign plant when the rest of China didn't? Well, southwestern China was historically infamous for being poor in the later half of China's dynastic history. With insanely high salt taxes under Ming and Qing dynasty governance, few peasants could get their hands on the prized seasoning. Fortunately for the Sichuanese, there was a cheaper alternative that the imperial government didn't tax like their treasured salt supplies, and that was the chili. With semi-tropical and relatively warm climates, chilies grew in abundance in the southwest, even growing wildly in certain regions of Yunnan. The chili acted as a more affordable alternative to salt, taking its place as a flavor enhancer, but also adding the benefit of being a natural air conditioner by triggering the sweat glands to release heat in this warmer region of China. And as a natural preservative, decelerating the spoilage of food through its active ingredient, capsaicin, which can inhibit the growth of certain harmful bacteria, again especially important in this warmer region of China. In addition, the Sichuanese were no strangers to spicy food.
The fragrance of peppercorns brings peace and longevity.
Evidence of the cultivation of Sichuan peppercorn dates back as far as the mid-4th millennium BC in western Sichuan, making it the oldest spice in East Asia. Being native to Sichuan, countless generations had long enjoyed its spicy flavor for thousands of years, so adopting this new foreign chili pepper was a more natural process for the Sichuanese relative to other Chinese subgroups. The Sichuanese and their neighboring provinces became master chili cultivators and consumers, eventually developing dishes that combined the spiciness of the American chili with the numbing spiciness of the local Sichuan peppercorn. Surprisingly, the negative image of chili peppers among China's upper classes, even in Sichuan, would persist all the way through the fall of the Republic of China in the mid-20th century. It wasn't until the Communist Revolution that chili peppers became a positive association with the common people, making them the subject of praise and political symbolism. Mao Zedong, who hailed from a poor inland region of Hunan, embraced the pepper and was famous for his love of spice.
If there is no spicy, there is no revolution.
Several early communist bases were located in the inland mountainous areas of the south and were manned by poor peasants, whose ancestors had embraced chili peppers for centuries. To an extent, the chili became a symbol of the spirit of the Communist Party itself, red, fiery, and rebellious. But while the reputation of the chili had improved, its widespread consumption was still largely confined to the southwest region, and it wasn't until the late 20th century, during the rapid urbanization of China, that spicy food became a nationwide sensation, as millions of southwestern Chinese migrated to major population centers throughout the country and brought with them their grandma's spicy cookbook recipes. A similar phenomenon occurred in post-war Taiwan, where Republic of China refugees, with origins from Hunan and Sichuan, arrived to the island in significant numbers, starkly contrasting the local Taiwanese cuisine that historically used little to no chilies. So the next time you're enjoying a piping hot Sichuan hot pot, please don't forget to thank your local Aztec farmer and Portuguese trader for bringing this masochistic plant across the world to China. If you enjoyed this video, please consider liking and subscribing. It makes a huge difference in allowing me to create more content like this.